Hello again. This video is going to focus entirely on the Ajax functionality of this assignment. We're going to proceed as though the HTML and jQuery is done, as well as the PHP being done. And we want to connect the beginning with the end part. So we're just looking at the Ajax in this one. If we come over here to the specifications, we are going to start with this starter HTML page that I provide for you, and you'll see some comments that I left in there for you. And if you come down here to the image, it'll load larger than what I can show on the screen, but I'll show you what we're going to be working on. Here from about line 102, where we have Ajax form, that's the jQuery library that we're using there. As you scroll to the right, you're going to see my comments, and we're going to work down through the code to about a little bit further. It looks like 231, and again all of my comments off to the right. I'm not going to be typing the comments. I'm just going to work with the code, and you can refer back to that image for the comments. To see what you're starting with, this is the starter HTML page. If you click this link, it's going to bring up this interface, and if you try to use the drag and drop, this is what's going to happen. That's not our desired functionality. And likewise, if you choose browse and choose an image, nothing's going to happen. It's just going to sit there. So we want to begin to fix that. So now what we're going to do is go look at the assignment here in Dreamweaver. Again, this is the finished product. We're going to start with this section here. There are two pieces of Ajax that we're going to be doing in this example. You scroll down in that starter page, you'll see the comments that I've left for you. The first piece of Ajax is for the button that you can click, and it uses the jQuery form library to submit it asynchronously. The second piece down here is for the drag and drop functionality in HTML5, and it's going to convert the data to binary and submit it to a PHP asynchronously. We're going to start with this shorter piece up here that uses the jQuery form library. Since this is working with the button, the browse button to select a file, you need to scroll up a little bit around line 46 where you've got form ID equals form 0. You'll notice the action is going to do upload.php. So we're submitting to this file. We are posting the information, and you've got to make sure that your encryption type is multipart/form data. If you do not have this ink type equals multipart/form data, your file will not upload. So that form is already there on the page for you. We'll come back down and we will start working through some of this code. So the first thing we want to do is select the form. So using jQuery, I will select the form on the page, and then I will use the jQuery library part of that. Inside of that Ajax form, we're going to have a before submit colon. We will have a function for before submit, and we'll have three, that should be an O. We'll have three variables or parameters there. And then we will open and close those curly brackets, and on the next line we'll do a success colon, which will be another function with data as our parameter, and we will open and close that. And so now we've got our basic setup for using the asynchronous jQuery form. So before submit, what we're going to want to do is clear the image holder, and we're going to want to add a loading animation in there. So we're going to use jQuery here, and we're going to select the image holder that's on the page, and you can see it automatically helps me select it there. And I'm going to clear out the HTML. So to do that, I'm just going to use .html and pass it the empty string to clear it out. And let me bounce back to this. Open this up. This is the image holder, and so if there was an image in there from before, from a previous upload, we clear that out so that it's not in the background. And then the next thing we're going to do before submit is to display a loading image in there. So in the next line, we're going to once again use that image holder, and I'm going to do add class this time, and the class that I'm going to add is BG loading. So I've got that class set up already up above, and what that's going to do is display the loading image with the circle that goes around. And those are the only two things that we want to do on before submit. In the success area, we're going to check for the type of data before we store it into the data element. So I'm going to have an if-else statement here, and I'll say if, and I'll just go ahead and come down here and say else if, and these are both going to be one-liners, so I'll kind of leave it open like this, and let's fill in what goes in the if statement here. I'll say if type of data is equal to an object and data.nodeType. If both of those are true, then I'll say data is equal to, if I spell correctly, element to string data.document element and pass it the parameter true. Else if type of data is only equal to object, in that case data is going to be equal to object to string data. Now, after we have converted that data, again, we're in the success function, which means that up here we've done this before we've submitted to the PHP. In between, we're going to submit to the PHP, and when the PHP is successful, it will return data, and that data that it returns we convert into something that we can use, and then we are going to use jQuery to place it on the page where we would like to display it. So I'm again going to use image holder, and I'm going to remove the class BG loading so that we get rid of that image that's inside of there. After that, I'm going to clear it just to make sure. So again, I will do .html, pass it the empty string and clear it out. And next I want to store something into it. So I'm going to take that line, and inside of the image holder I want to place an image tag. So I'm going to write the opening image tag img. I'm going to give it an ID equals img1. You'll notice that I'm using single quotes nested inside of double quotes so that I don't have to worry about my text string ending. I'm going to set src equal to some value. I'm going to have width equal to some value, alternate text equal to some value, title equal to a value, and then we'll close the image tag. So that's our basic setup. I'll go ahead and put in the title text and the alternate text. I'll just put the same text in there, and I'll say picture that was browsed for. And I'll just take that text and I'll move it over here, and I will paste it inside of the alternate text as well. The width I'm going to set to be 250. That's the width of the image holder. And so all that's going to do is a landscape image. You're probably going to see the entire image in there. A portrait image, if it's large enough, you'll probably see the top part, and it may be cut off by the bottom of the image holder. But you can adjust that if you get that far. We want it placed into the uploads folder, and then what we want to do is concatenate in the data here. So we're going to use 2 double quotes and then 2 plus signs inside of that, and then we'll concatenate in the data that way. So that's going to place it inside of the image holder for us, and we also want to place one inside of the collection of images on the right hand side. So that one's called all images, and again I'll do a pound sign so that we get the ID of that element. And I'm going to use append this time rather than .html because I want to keep everything that's in there. So I'll use an append statement, and in the append again I'm going to put an image tag, and I'll do opening image. I'll set the style equal to some value. I'll set the source equal to some value. I'll set the width equal to a value. I'll have alternate and title, and then close my image tag. Now the alternate and title I'm just going to leave blank so that I don't have tooltips, particularly with title, so that I don't have tooltips popping up as I mouse over. I'm going to set the width here equal to, 75. It'll be much smaller so that it fits into that space. I'm more concerned with the width than I am with the height. The source is going to be similar to what we have right above. It's going to be upload slash, and then we want to concatenate in that data. So I'm going to put 2 double quotes, and inside of there 2 plus signs, and then inside of there I'm going to put the data. And the style that I'm going to put on there is going to be margin colon 2px, 2 pixels, and we'll be done with that line. On the next one, I'm going to do again look for all images, pound sign so that we look it up by the ID, and I'm going to use an animate. And in the animate, all I want to do is cause it to scroll if there's enough images in there to scroll. So inside of there we've got, I'm going to need curly brackets inside of the animate. I will use scroll top colon, and then I will search for all images once again. So all images, and index of 0 dot scroll height, and then outside of that, over the course of 1.5 seconds is what I want the animation to take place. So again, we're animating that rather than just jumping to the bottom. You'll actually slowly see it move down as the new image appears. And so we'll use scroll top, and we'll set the scroll top equal to the height of all images. So as more images are added, the height will increase, and we'll do that over a 1.5 second time period. So now that we've got the Ajax form functionality here, we need to actually submit the form. We haven't done that in anything that we've written yet. We've got that form element up above, and so what we'll have to do is search for the form, and I will put form tag, and I will select the form whose name is form 0. And what I want to do is onChange. OnChange function E, and my semicolon at the end. So anytime you'll select an image, and when you select the image, the text location goes into that text box, which is going to trigger the onChange event. So the change is going to be E, and we're going to prevent the default action from taking place. And then next we're going to, once again, the same thing that's up above, form with the name equal to form 0. And we will just submit it from here. And that's going to complete our button, browse button upload. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to bring back this view here, and I'm going to refresh this page. And so this should be the page that I'm working on here. When I bring this up, I'll go to Browse, I'll choose an image, a loading animation appears, both images are there, and then what we've got to check is to see if it was actually uploaded. So let's go to the Uploads folder, and there's my image. We can see it's the same one, and not only that, it should be in the other two folders as well. So we've completed the Browse button part of that exercise. Next, we're going to come outside of the jQuery. So all of that you just wrote should have gone inside of that closing jQuery tag, and now everything else you write is going to go right in this area. So the next thing we're going to write is a function called getXMLHTTP_request. This is actually a function that's provided to you in your notes, but we'll go ahead and go through it here. So I'll create a function called getXMLHTTP_request. Doesn't have any parameters. We'll open and close it there. Inside of there, we're going to create a variable called request, and we're going to set it equal to false. And after that, we're going to have some nested try-catch blocks. And so we're going to try this would be for Firefox. We'll do a request as an example, equals new XML HTTP request from JavaScript. If that doesn't work, we've got a catch block. And inside of that catch block, we're going to do another try catch. So to simplify this a little bit, I'm going to do something you should probably never do. And I'm going to copy and paste. So in this case, we're going to try some versions of IE, and request is going to equal, instead of new XML HTTP request, we're going to do new ActiveX object, and we're going to try msxml2.xmlHTTP. And if that doesn't work, we're going to have a third try catch, and we're going to put it in this catch block and indent it. And instead of trying to create this ActiveX object, we're going to try to create Microsoft.xml_HTTP. And that's for obviously other versions of IE. And inside of the catch here, we're going to do request equal to false. And outside of that outer catch here, we are going to return request. And so now what we've got is coming through this try-catch block, request will either equal one of these objects or it's going to remain false, and we're going to return that. And so the next piece that we're going to look at is going to include a call to this function. And then there's quite a bit more that we need to do in order to submit to the other PHP, upload.php. Now I see I've got a syntax error here. I've forgotten to include my errors. And so after each catch, I'll add those. My syntax should be fine now. And we will go ahead and move on. So after this, outside of that function, we're going to begin to write some other JavaScript to work with. So I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call it image holder equals document get element by ID image holder, and that's going to get that element for me so that I have it in this variable for use as I move forward. I'm going to create another variable, call it URL, and I'm going to point it to the PHP that we are using for this section. So again, this section that we're working on now is the drag and drop area, and the drag and drop area uses upload.php. So we've created that URL. I'm then going to set some functionality. I'm going to say image holder dot on drag over equals a function and the body of that function is going to be this dot class name is equal to hover return false. I'm going to do something similar here for on drag end and on drop. So we'll change that to on drag end. The next one is going to be on drop. All three of them are going to be functions. I'll go ahead and remove that out of there. Let's look at the second one that I copied and pasted. It's going to be this.className equals, and we're going to remove the hover, and we're going to leave the return false. So on drag over, add the class hover to the image holder. On drag end, remove the class hover from the image holder. And on drop, we have a separate set of functionality. Everything else we write is going to go inside of this function. This one is going to have a parameter, and then we are going to move that curly bracket down to the bottom of the script here, and I'm going to comment it because I'm going to put a lot of code in between there and say end on drop. Now, inside of this on drop event, we are going to change the class name, make sure that it gets changed. So we'll say this.className, just like we did above, is equal to the empty string. The next thing we are going to do is prevent the default action. So we'll say event.prevent default. After that, we want to clear the image holder and then add the background loading. So I did that up here once already, so what I'm going to do is just copy these 2 lines of code from up above, and I'll come down here and I will put them in after my prevent default, and then I will tab them over so that they are in line. Next, we're going to use the event to get the file that was dropped on the image holder. So we'll create another variable, var file equals event.data transfer .files 0 index, and after that we're going to create 2 new file readers, and the first one is going to be reader equals new file reader, and preview equals new file reader. Now that we have those, we're going to use the reader and create a function for onloadEnd for the reader. So as we're reading that file, we're going to wait for it to load, and when it's done loading, we want some things to happen. So we'll do reader.onloadEnd equals function, and there's quite a bit that's going to go in there. I'm going to comment this as end onloadEnd. Now I'm going to go ahead and come outside of the onloadEnd function and finish this up with just a couple of lines of code here before we go up and start working inside of the onloadEnd function. So here, before we exit the onDrop, we need a reader.read as binary, and we'll pass it the file, and that's going to send the file to reader as binary, and then we're going to have preview.read as data, we'll send it the file, that's going to send it to preview as data, and after that we're going to do a return false. And so that's going to be the end of the inside of the onDrop function there. And now we're going to go up and start working inside of this onloadEnd function. So inside of here, again, there's quite a bit to go in here. So we're going to start with binary equals reader.result, and that's going to store the result from the reader into a variable. And from that point we're going to begin some Ajax functionality here. And so we're going to set request equal to get XML HTTP request. This is the function that we wrote up above. And so that's either going to return false, or it's going to return us with a request object. And so after this, we're going to have an onReadyStateChange function. So we'll do request dot onReadyStateChange equal to a function, and I'm going to comment that as end onReadyStateChange, and we'll have more to go in there. I'm going to continue on after the onReadyState function there, and do more of what's outside of that. So after the Ajax portion here, this is an if-else block that's going to take care of the request data and sending it as binary or not. So we've got an if statement, and we'll say if request dot send as binary is not equal to null, whoops, else I'll go ahead and move this one up here to be consistent, or at least try to be consistent. So we've got an if-else block here, and this is going to continue with our Ajax functionality. We've got request.open, and within the open function we need to tell it whether it's a post or a get. And so for this one we're going to do a post, and then we're going to specify the URL, and we're going to concatenate onto that some text, and we will say $binary equals true. And then there's a third parameter that we send to tell it whether or not to do it asynchronously, and of course yes, we want to do it asynchronously, so we set that equal to true. So that finishes out our open function here, and next we've got to set the body of what we are sending. So one, I'm going to create a variable called boundary, and in that boundary I'm going to put some x's, and that's going to be something that I look for later. And then I'm going to create a function called body, and I'm going to set it equal to, and here we're going to get into just some text and typing, and so I'm just going to work through this here, and you can watch on the screen here. We'll concatenate in the boundary, and we will concatenate in a return /r/n. We're going to continue concatenating, and we've got about 4 lines of this to get through. So content dash disposition. Here's hoping I don't misspell anything. File name, we're going to concatenate in what we need here. So for this we're going to do double quote. Inside of the double quotes we're going to put in 2 plus signs, and then we're going to do file.name to put that inside of there. And then before that closing quote there, we're going to do another /r/n. Again for a return in the data. We're going to continue this on. Content type. Couple of breaks. My semicolon up here. Next line after content type is going to be concatenating in the binary with another break. And concatenate in another double dash with boundary once again with another double dash. Sorry for my switching back and forth on single and double quotes, but we'll work through this. So now we've made the body there, and provided I haven't mistyped anything, we'll do a request, set request header, and inside of the set request header we are going to set content-type to multipart /form-data semicolon boundary equals, and concatenate boundary onto the end of that. Again, we'll do request dot send as binary and send the body. So again, we are sending to once again upload.php is where that's going to go to. And so that is if send as binary is not null. If it is null, then we're going to do something a little different down here, where we've got request.open once again. So I'm going to start by grabbing this one from up above and paste it in here. And in this one, it's actually going to be the same. And then we're going to set request headers once again. So we'll go request, set request header, and the first one is going to be up-file name, comma, file.name. The next one, set request header, is going to be size, file.size. The next one is going to be type and file.type. And then we have a request.send. And we will do window dot binary to ASCII binary. And so that completes that if-else block. Now after that if-else block, we've got a preview onload end that will set equal to an empty function. And so now the only thing we should have left is our onReadyState change function. So what we've done is we've taken care of sending the request. So in either case, we've opened a request, we're posting it, we're sending it to our upload.php. We've got to one of my copy and paste errors here. If we get into this else statement, that binary has to equal false. This here remains true though on the end, because that's whether or not to send it asynchronously, and we do want to do that. So we've in either case we have sent our request, and so now what we've got to do is listen for ready state changes, and when it has completed, do something with the result. So inside of our ready state change function, we're going to have an if statement. That if statement is going to say if request ready state is equal to 4 and request.status is equal to 200. So the ready state goes through states 0 through 4. It moves up to 4, and you don't want to do anything until it gets to 4. And also, you don't want to do anything unless the status was 200. So like if it were a 404, you wouldn't be able to do anything. Or if it were a 501 internal server error or something like that, you couldn't do anything. 200 is the status is okay. So you're looking for 4 and 200 in all cases for Ajax. Inside of this, we are going to set result equal to the response text. Response text in this case. And this is a bit of a hack on my part, but we are sometimes that line doesn't work quite the way that I want. So I've added this other line, and it seems to work all the time. So I'll do result equals, and I'll concatenate that with request.response text once again. And so I'll use that eval statement to evaluate the result of the request. And then inside of here, we've got to check and make sure that there's no error as part. So we're going to have an if statement and say if result.error is equal to the empty string. If that is the case, then we are going to want to take care of our image holder at this point. We've got about 5 things left to do here. A couple of the lines are similar from what we did up here. We're basically at this point where we need to do these types of activities here, and so we're going to repeat doing these things. So I'm going to copy all 5 of those and come back down here, and I'll begin by pasting them into error. This last one I'll put outside of error. Oops. And for this one, we are all images.animate scroll top. Something you can do to make sure that it gets definitely to the full height, you could add a little bit on there because it's only going to go to the height anyway. But other than that, that's essentially the same line. Inside of error equals the empty string. We've got image holder, remove class, bg loading, and then we clear the image holder out, set it equal to the empty string. And then here we could probably use this, or we can do it another way, and I'll say img holder dot inner HTML is equal to, and in this case it's going to be pretty much that same thing. Instead of that was browsed for, I'm going to change it to that was dragged and dropped. So I'll copy that, and I will get rid of this, paste it there, and we'll come back across here. The width is still going to be 250. We come across image ID equals img1 source equals, and this part's going to change here, and we will set this equal to source equals, there's a single quote, there's a second one, but instead of data, we've got to be careful with copying and pasting. It's going to be result.source, and that same result.source is going to replace this data down here, so we'll go ahead and do that. Hopefully we don't have any copy and paste errors there. And then similar to this, we're going to modify it, and we're going to say all images enter HTML, and we're going to do plus equals, and then we send the opening image tag. We leave the margin of 2 pixels. We set the source equal to, I'm going to get rid of this upload slash again this time. Result source width 75, alt and title still blank. I've got to get rid of that parenthesis. And with a little luck, this is going to run for me. Now that I've saved that, we will go ahead and go back to the page here. We'll refresh it, make sure we've got the changes there. Upload new images. We see this. Again, we were working on the drag and drop functionality here. So I'll select an image, I will drop it. It comes right in there. That's great. And then let's come back to look and see, and the image shows up there. It's in the uploads folder. We've got a thumbnail here that's a smaller size, and we've got a medium size image that was resized as well. Just for good measure, let's go ahead and drag and drop a few more. We can see that the loading is working. And basically what I'm trying to do is get to that scrolling. There's my scrolling. I brought it all the way down. And while we're here, let's go ahead and use the browse. And I'll use it one more time to make sure the scrolling is working there. And it is. So that gets us through the Ajax portion of this assignment. In another video, we will cover the PHP portion of this.